What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to look at another Transformer that came around in Wave 1, was really good in Wave 1, and then got ignored in Wave 2. It's almost like they've got other characters to talk about. Well, the good news is, ladies and gentlemen, that Skrapnel is back. Let's talk about some Skrapnel. Now, this has been revealed over by OzGeekMum over on Twitter. I'll pop a link to her Twitter in the description. And essentially here, we've got Sergeant Skrapnel. Skrapnel is back, and it's very different to Wave 1 Skrapnel. Now, starting off, it is a 9-cost character, which makes it a bit more expensive than the original Skrapnel. And the stats here are, they're not great. 11 health is slightly lower than we'd want. Defense of 1 or 2 is slightly lower than we'd want. And attack of 4 or 5 is at least decent. We don't mind attack of 5 in bot mode. So the stats are fine here, but they ain't great. What we do, however, see is a rather nice pair of skills. So, starting off in bot mode, when an upgrade is scrapped from one of your characters, repair 1 damage from this. Oh, that's actually really kind of cool. Because if you can start mucking around with stuff like Force Field, and Force Field says that you can only take 4 damage in a turn, and then your opponent starts scrapping your upgrades, you can start healing really nicely here. And the thing is that your opponent can't just stop hating on upgrades. I mean, certainly one of the cards from Wave 2, which has seen really quite a lot of play up to now, is Bashing Shield. Bashing Shield is a lovely armor you put on your character, gives you +1 defense. It's also got a green icon, meaning you can get it out quite easily even if you flip it while attacking or defending. And when you put on a character, you scrap an enemy armor, which of course is pretty good against stuff like the aforementioned Force Field. But now if your opponent scraps a Force Field, you get to heal 1. But we need to pay attention to the wording here, because the wording's actually really important. When an upgrade is scrapped from one of your characters, repair 1 damage from this. So there is no when you lose an upgrade, you heal 1. When any of your characters loses an upgrade, you get to heal Skrapnel by 1. Now, you've got 11 health, 1 defense in bot mode, which is a mode you need to be in order to do the healing. It's not exactly like you're the sturdiest character ever. And certainly without something like a Force Field, it could go wrong. But if you can end up healing quite nicely without having to worry too much about getting one-hit KO'd because of stuff like Force Field, you can have a major impact in the game. And then, of course, you're sitting there at a 5-attack character. So you're doing a fair amount of damage. You just need to keep on the field. You need to avoid big one-hit KOs. That's crucial. But if you can avoid big one-hit KOs, this is really cool. Maybe you even start playing around with stuff like Medic just to heal a little bit of extra damage. So you can essentially heal up entirely. You know, your opponent scraps 1 upgrade, and then you drop a Medic, and all of a sudden, with a Force Field, you've essentially taken a single damage. I can't be the only one that thinks that's pretty gosh darn good. And while we're talking about healing, might I remind you about Ratchet? Now, we did get Ratchet revealed a little while ago now. He's kind of an old character. But Ratchet reads, when you repair damage, this gets +1 attack until end of turn for each damage repaired. And that is repairing any damage from any character, whether yours or your opponent's. So, I'm not saying this is the best team ever, because Ratchet's an 8. And Skrapnel is a 9. That would still give you 17. Incidentally, we'll get there in a minute, but you could play Ratchet, this Skrapnel, and Wave 1 Skrapnel in one deck if you so wished. And then you can get a Medic straight away when you start the game in ult mode. And it basically means that every time your opponent scraps an upgrade, you heal 1 damage, and you get to boost Ratchet's attack by 1. And remember, you don't have to wait for your opponent to scrap all of your upgrades. One of the cards that really appeals to me here is Salvage for Parts. Because you see, Salvage for Parts, scrap all upgrades, repair 1 damage from each character for each upgrade scrapped to it. So you drop this, and let's say you've got 4 upgrades out. Well, you're healing 1 damage for each upgrade scrapped to the character, but then you're also healing 4 from Skrapnel, and then boosting Ratchet's attack by 4. That's ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. I love the idea of playing Ratchet and Skrapnel together here. I think that could be an awful lot of fun. Now, we will talk about Wave 1 Skrapnel, but first we need to go to the Alt Mode skill here. The Alt Mode skill is Brave. Enemies attack this character if able. It's quite cool. I mean, in the early game, it's quite nice, especially if you can have a force field on here. Take a little bit of damage while protecting your other characters, and then you can start healing it off when your opponent scraps your upgrades. And look, if your opponent turns around and goes, I'm not falling for that, I'm not letting you heal, I'm going to let you keep your upgrades, brilliant! That's fine. Because you know what? You're winning that round, ladies and gentlemen. Your opponent is letting you keep your upgrades. That's a very good thing. So, the Brave here can backfire if Skrapnel gets taken out too quickly, but you can always flick to bot mode and lose the Bravery. But I like the fact that you can maybe take and that's clearly the design here. You take a bit of damage on this in the early game, so that you've then got room to heal later on. Now, I do need to flick back to Sergeant Skrapnel very quickly, because of course I said when an upgrade is scrapped from one of your characters. So what you could do here is just use Force Field, because if we go to the wording of Force Field, it's very, very important. Because Force Field says, if the upgraded character would take 5 or more attack damage, scrap this card and the upgraded character takes 4 attack damage. Now, we will need a ruling as to whether you heal and then take damage or take damage and then heal. By the wording, it seems like you heal and then take damage, but you do get to heal 1 when Force Field falls off. Similarly, if you were to play something like a grenade launcher that falls off when you attack, you get +4 attack, you get a nice big beefy attack, but then grenade launcher gets scrapped, and you get to heal 1 while you're there. Or maybe you use something like Power Punch, for instance. Power Punch, a lovely little upgrade. Bold free, and after you attack, you scrap this card. Or if you'd rather go a bit bold, maybe you go Evasive Maneuvers, which similarly gives you tough free, and after you defend, you scrap this card. And even though they're being scrapped because of what it says on the card, you still get to heal that 1. I don't mind the Brave in alt mode, but it really is the bot mode skill which is great here. And this goes really nicely in a defensive deck with Wave 1 Skrapnel, because remember that Wave 1 Skrapnel cannot take more than 3 attack damage from a single attack. So that means that you can put all your force field onto Wave 3 Skrapnel, and then get a bit of healing going on, and especially if you're playing stuff like Medic or maybe even something like a Repair Bay to try and heal new Skrapnel, then you can use them to heal old Skrapnel as well, and maybe you can stop damage being taken, do a whole bunch of healing, and take these 2 Skrapnel and really leave them on the field. Again, we'll need to do a whole bunch of testing, but they add up, the pair of them, to 16 stars. I'm going Ratchet as my third thing. And look, I know that both the Skrapnels are melee, and that means you get access to stuff like Power Sword and Body Armor, which are really great cards. And I know that they're both Insecticons, so that means you get stuff like Bug Bomb and Swarm, which are good cards. But the fact that this seems to be a pair of characters that really want to focus on healing and can heal with one of the skills, and Ratchet gets attack bonus for healing, I think there's a nice trio to be made with Skrapnel, Ratchet. I really quite like it. I'm a fan of this new Skrapnel. I don't think I love it in a vacuum. In a vacuum, it's just a fairly weak character that can heal, but the healing might be for naught because you're a fairly weak character. But taken out of a vacuum and put into a team where you're blocking damage and you're healing extra and then you're getting extra attack for the healing, I think I kind of like this new Skrapnel. Either way, this is a deck I'm going to be testing when Wave 3 drops, and I suggest you give it a thought too. But for now, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this card, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where I talk about Transformers and a whole bunch of other games. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.